Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Faster Masters Rowing Radio, where having a rowing coach only makes you better. Following a program gives you a true pathway to becoming a confident sculler who's respected by your peers. You can become the athlete that you want to row with. I'm Rebecca Caro, and along with Marlene Royal, I am 50% of Faster Masters Rowing. Hey, Marlene.
Hi, I'm the other 50%. Nice to see everybody.
Absolutely.
We're 200%, maybe. We're 200%.
I love it when percentages don't add up.
It's like when your force curves don't match, but the boat still goes really fast.
Yeah, that's because you're in a pair. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
I know. We can have lots of fights about force curves. Right?
Now, our sponsors, to whom we are extremely grateful for making this podcast possible. ScullingGear.com was founded by Christine Coughlin when she realized that there wasn't a single store where she could get all of the things she needs after she'd bought her first sculling boat. So she started this website, and it's a web shop just for gear for sculling, like the name implies. The top 3 bestsellers that she has are rowing gloves, the Take a Look mirror, rear view mirror, and the Squoosh seat cushion. Please mention Rowing Chat or Faster Masters Rowing Radio when you contact ScullingGear.com. Now, our other sponsor is the Rowing Directory. We are building up a really great list now of businesses who are rowing businesses, and you can find it on rowing.chat and then just click the menu where it says directory. We have updated listings this month from Sykes Australia, from Ortec Australia, where they have new contact details, from All Mark One, who are the British event media company who do a lot of event photography and reportage. Also from 776 BC Clothing, who have performance wear, which is like compression clothing, specially designed for rowing. And we also have 2 businesses that are no longer trading, Magic Rowing Oarlocks and one which is reduced trading. So Johnstone Racing is now only trading in Adelaide, Australia, on a high school loan program for boats. So they're no longer manufacturing boats for the general public. Please, if you know a rowing business that ought to be registered there, get in touch. If you go to that webpage, rowing.chat, and click on the directory link, you'll see a link where it says list your rowing business, and you can upload all of their details there, and we'll get in touch with them and check that all the information's correct. Now, let's welcome our live online viewers. Firstly, Steve. Hola from Japan. Whee! Oh, hello, Steve. You must be up early. Yeah. And Rich is with us from Casper, Wyoming.
Hello. Nice. Good to see Rich.
And Cece from Whidbey with 3 exclamation marks so that you know it's really important this year.
Yeah, so obviously you've had a good workout today if we get 3 exclamation points.
Now take a look at my photograph for today. So I'm just going to show you this is the Otago Harbour, which is in Dunedin in the south of New Zealand. And these 2 lovely ladies uploaded this photograph this past week. Isn't that stunning? A sunrise and a really nice looking double. Thank you very much for sharing that. And we have a couple more watching live.
Oh, Betsy Mitchell from Sarasota.
Hi, Betsy. Lovely to have you with us.
Yes, Betsy was a national team member in the para double for the Para World Championships in the 2015, the year before Rio.
And Chris Ringdahl from Fort Collins.
Excellent.
Someone unnamed from Portland in Maine. Hello, sorry, I don't know what your name is. You'll have to tell us. And Jeanette is in Dundas, Ontario.
Oh, Jeanette, new picture this week. You see, every week you give us a new picture.
I like that.
Yes. I think I know who it is from Portland, but she needs to tell us.
Secret friends.
Secret friends.
Now, we have this new segment, which we started doing this year, 2021, called This Past Week. Marlene and I feel very strongly that part of our leadership for Masters rowers is to support and encourage the wider sport of Masters rowing. And so we're going to be letting you know just little anecdotes of things that we've been up to, which are not specific to our business or actually much to this podcast. And the idea of sharing them is to give listeners some ideas of things that they might like to do, but also to broadcast good work that other people are doing around the world that helps us all become a stronger part of the sport. Marlene, kick us off. What have you been doing?
Well, this week, I had a very good training week this week. Where I live, it was quite cold, so I wasn't outside on skis. But I was really good about getting on the erg this week. And then when I had some warmer weather, I was out skiing. So consistency is the name of the game. So even if you can't get a long session in, everything counts. So my training week was good. And I am taking part in the Rowing Canada conference, and Faster Masters is a gold level sponsor of the Rowing Canada conference, which is going on right now. So for those of you who might be attending virtually, we're really excited about that. And as a coach, it's important to learn new stuff all the time. I think part of our role is to help you stay on top of what's current. And certainly, and I would say right now, with COVID and everything being virtual, there is an incredible amount of online activity, talks, conferences. There's a lot of stuff that's been going on this year. But what I am focusing on initially in the Rowing Canada conference is the coach certification for coaching coastal rowing. So I've done the first 2 modules of that, and it's being run by Guin Batten, who's quite a famous rower from the United Kingdom. She was one of the first British women to win an Olympic rowing medal for for Great Britain, and also is a world coastal champion 2 times, I believe. So she runs it and does the entire presentation, and it's just like out of this world, I like open water rowing, but coastal is wild. And we're learning all about how to coach entries, exits, turns, how to work the waves, how to make turns, how to use the surf. I mean, it's pretty cool. So tons of material to digest, but that's kind of what I'm into for the next couple of days. And I'm also listening to a lot of talks about performance and how to measure performance and how to use the Empower Orlock is coming up. So those are the things I'm doing besides getting the February content ready for Faster Masters.
Sounds busy. Now, I went to a regatta this past weekend. It was in Rotorua in New Zealand. It's called the Dewar Shield, an amazing, huge, great shield from 2004, donated by a Scottish brewing company, distillery called Dewar's that still exists.
Wow.
And they added a trophy for Masters a couple of years ago in memory of a gentleman called James Boyce, who sadly died. And I was stoked because my club won the Masters trophy, which we had no idea that we were even in the running for it, because we didn't get very many first places. We got an enormous number of second and third places. So maybe it was a volume game, but anyway,
yeah,
we were very pleased. So that was that. And then we're also in New Zealand having discussions about the Masters novice status and racing in your first year of rowing. And we had a very instructional session last night when a guy came in and explained that changing the anniversary date of when you cease to be a novice has some technical challenges, which I won't go into now, but he suggested a wonderful solution, which is to not change our master's novice status, but instead to add to it by offering races for what he called new masters, which are people who are in their first 3 years of rowing. So that hypothetically, if you learn to row only 5 months or 6 months before the Masters National Championships, you can race your novice category, and it'll then give you the opportunity to also have a second race in the new Masters category. And by doing that, you can then see, how far you are away from, being in the winning cruise for that event. And that'll allow you and encourage you, hopefully, to enter again the following year and then the year after that. So we're still out to consultation. So I'm still looking for feedback from people. So this is totally hot off the blocks. What do you think about a new Masters racing category before you go into age category racing as let's call it a pathway into the racing part of our sport?
Interesting. Would it have age categories, or it would just be a general category for just your it's pre-age group rowing?
Okay. Correct. And a limited range of boats. We're thinking probably an 8, maybe, or even maybe not an 8, definitely a 4 or a quad, and maybe doubles. So very limited boat classes. We're thinking the 4 probably needs to be coxed. Possibly the quad needs to be coxed. We're not, we're seeking consultation on these things.
Interesting. Nice. That's a great idea, I think.
Thank you. And then the last thing that we've been working on, I think some of you know that we've had a women's 8 going out from my club. We had a very enthusiastic men's 8 race at the weekend. And as a result of that, we've sent a note to all of the guys in the club saying, would you like to get a little more organized and start planning crews for yourself so that you can regularly go out in an 8? And of course, I think everybody listening knows it takes far more than 8 people to boat an 8, particularly in a masters group. And so the women in the group have sort of shared the methodology that they used of how to get organized. At its simplest level, we picked 2 days when we would try and train together, a midweek morning and a Sunday morning. And then we have several coxes and coaches. Some coaches are prepared to sit in the cox's seat, and a messaging group, either by email or, direct messenger, whether it's WhatsApp or Telegram or whatever. And that's how we got ourselves going. We did have one really important rule, which is that if you cannot make the outing at the last minute, it's up to you to find your own replacement. So you've got to find your substitute. Otherwise, it's terrible to turn up and only have 7 people at the boathouse at 5:45 a.m. So we're really hoping that the guys from our own club are going to also get an 8 going.
Cool. Then you could race against each other, or you could have 2 mixed 8s to do pieces against each other.
You've got it. Absolutely. And we can then also do older and younger age group events, because we've got a very broad spread of ages. Our club goes from about age 36 to nearly 65 at the moment.
Cool. That's excellent. Oh, it is Sarah. Haha. That's what I thought.
Hi, Sarah from Portland, Maine. And also Mitinori Watanabe. Nice to see you, Mitinori. Sorry, I can't read Japanese. You're going to have to do some translation and help me along. And Glenda has joined us from Wilmington in North Carolina. Hello, Glenda. You are the smiliest person. I know it's not on your picture, but it's great that you're with us. Now, we've got some fun coming up. In the past, we've really enjoyed seeing things that people have named their boats. And we've had I've told the story of Mental Floss, who is my double. And there was a very long discussion thread on the Masters Rowing International Facebook group with someone who started off saying, do you name your erg? Or have you given your erg a name? And by the time I got to this particular discussion, there were already over 240 comments.
So you see what people do? Like, this is like reading a grammar book before you go to bed, right? You know, like this is like rowing nerd stuff. I wonder if anybody here if anybody names their erg, write it in the comments and tell us.
So some of the names were pretty predictable, you know, the beast or the monster or the disciplinarian, or nobody said Miss Whiplash, which is a British political joke. So in the UK, back in the day, you used to be able to stand in elections for Parliament with a deposit of only £100. So if you're prepared to stake £100 and accept that if you don't get a certain percentage of the vote, you lose your deposit. And as a result, you'd often get quite a lot of joke candidates who just had a lot of fun, particularly in by-elections where someone had resigned their seat for some reason in between general elections. And so there was a gentleman who called himself Screaming Lord Such. In fact, he changed his name by deed poll, and he represented the monster raving loony party for many, many years. And there was a very notorious by-election in Newbury, where Miss Whiplash was one of the candidates. And of course, it became a national joke in the mode that only Britons can do, along with, you know, Boaty McBoatface and other recent examples. So there were some pretty funny erg names like that. Now, Marlene, have you ever named your erg?
No, but I was just thinking, like, why not? I mean, I've named everything else, my car, my boat, everything. Yeah. So my boat is named, my first boat. And this is actually, I'll say this publicly, this is a story that I'm going to write for your rowing tales, because you're always asking me and I'm always saying, no, I won't write anything. But I'm going to write you the story of my Van Deusen, my first Van Deusen, which was named Finse. And I'm not going to tell you the whole story here from its birth to its death, because it's quite an interesting story. But my first boat was named Finse, which is the tallest mountain in Norway.
Finsa.
Yes, or SE, maybe SE. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I was thinking, what am I going to name my herb? Maybe I might name my herb like Sobakevich. Sobakevich is the main character of Gogol's Dead Souls. So if any of you are into Russian literature, Sobakevich, he's one of the characters, and like he looks like a dog, because Sobaka means dog in Russian. So Sobakevich is the dog-like man, right? So but anyway, in Dead Souls, it's a very funny book where the main character, he makes a lot of money selling things about people who have already died. So he's selling dead souls, a little bit like your votes, right? Like people are voting who are actually dead. So, you know, so Sobakevich is one of the main characters. So that might be my erg.
I often thought that I might name a boat the Green Manalishi, because it's a blues song that I think someone like Jimmy Barnes sings, and a green Manalishi is a monster from the deep.
It definitely sounds like a
very long
monster.
word, and I'm not sure it would fit onto a boat bow.
Or could be named, you could name it Champ. Now, you know who Champ is? Champ is the sea serpent that lives in Lake Champlain. Like the Loch Ness Monster, Lake Champlain in Vermont has a serpent called Champ.
The trouble with the word champ is that it can also be champion. And I think people would think you're a bit arrogant.
Yeah. That's probably, we'll think of something else.
Sarah, I've not named my herb, which may explain a lot. I've named everything else, even the vacuum.
Oh my God. Well, I like
want to
that.
know what the vacuum's called.
Yeah, you have to tell us, Sarah. You can't leave us hanging like that. Yes, so cool. You know what? I think you do need to improve your relationship with your erg, and we're working on that. But I think if you give it a name and you cherish it a little more, that it will do good things for you.
One of the guys on the thread said he's called Miles because Miles makes champions, which was somewhat corny, but quite funny.
But it could be Miles Davis. You might listen to Miles Davis when he's rowing, right?
No, that's a corny British joke, because of course Steve Fairbairn always said Miles makes champions.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, obviously the hope is you become a champion.
But you could come up with some great, but I do think, you know, your erg should be part of your persona. I mean, you name boats and you spend a lot of time on your erg. So, you know, why not have a healthy conversation with it, right? It shouldn't be just a thing that you do something to. It should be part of your being.
I find it so hard. I have said this before, but I either have a flash of genius and I think of a name, particularly for boats, or I totally fail to name things. So I've never named a single, and I have named both my doubles. So
you never named your single. That's
I've
impossible.
never actually come up with the name that I like.
Well, you better work on that between now and next week. That's your task to report next week, or at least come up with the first letter.
Well, I've had the boat since 2001. It's an elderly boat now. Does it deserve to be named so late in the day?
You could call it like the Dapple Gray or something like that. Boring.
But like I said, it has to chime in my heart. Yeah. But I will try. I will. Okay. I will endeavor to try. Cece, if I name my erg, I'll have to name my bicycle and my weight cage and my bench. Oh my gosh, you're gonna have a family.
I know. A fitness family.
They'll get jealous. Yeah, the twins. You call them the triplets. Triplet numbers 1, 2, and 3.
Right. You don't want them attacking each other at night. Good Lord. That's what it might be. You're right. The erg might like bite your bicycle or something. Use me more.
Choose me. Choose me. Now, it's coming up to the end of January, but it's still midwinter in a lot of the world. And many people will have put on a couple of pounds after Christmas and maybe getting somewhat, I don't want to use the word depressed, but feeling the effects of being indoors, erg training. The motivation for the New Year's flush, the first flush of enthusiasm has passed. And today we want to talk about weight loss and diet quality. So for myself, I'm going to be very honest. I have, as of yesterday, lost 2 kilos since Christmas, which is around 4.5 pounds. But, you know, I have had to do this being careful and disciplined, and it hasn't been easy. So Marlene, kick us off. Where are you at?
The same, actually. Yeah, the same. Actually, since Christmas, yeah, the same, like 2 kilos, yeah, the same. And it is. I definitely agree with the sports nutrition Nancy Clark, who I am a great fan of, that the first 3 letters in the word diet are die, right? So restriction diets are just the pits, and that's different than being careful. But, you know, like real restriction, you're just not going to stick to it for a long time. So when I look at or like to talk about diet quality, think about changing habits and just, you know, maybe each week try to do one thing that improves your diet quality. So what are things that improve your diet quality? Obviously, less sugar. Okay. A lot of people are addicted to sugar. Less sugar, less refined foods. We know this, but, you know, just looking at if you buy something, is there a whole grain version of it? If you're a person who eats grains, is it something that's easy for you to buy fresh, like fresh vegetables or fresh fruits? Or sometimes people substitute in frozen vegetables or fruits just because of the convenience, or if they don't eat much, they don't want it to spoil. But boosting more vegetables and fruits and high quality proteins, just like cut down on the junk food a little bit. If one thing that is really important is that your brain likes the sense of crunch. Crunch is very, very important. So things like celery or vegetables that you eat and you crunch, which are, you know, celery actually has negative calories, you know, so it takes you more to digest celery than their calories. But things that have crunchy texture but are low calorie density are great snacks if you just want to munch on something. I think it's also important to sort of tune into, like, are you really hungry? You know, and if you're working at home and you're not used to working at home, you might think every time you take a break, you go down and have a snack. Some people snack all day, but you could snack too much, right? So if you look at, try to tune into, you know, are you really hungry? Because if you are, maybe you've been training a lot, maybe you need more fuel. You know, think of food as fuel. We still can enjoy it, but food is ultimately fuel. And try to time it around your training, before and after training, but look at the quality of things. Like, are you drinking sodas? If you're drinking sodas, you know what, just changing soda to seltzer water is right there. You've probably eliminated 300 calories a day easily. You know, try not to drink your calories any more than you have to. Try to eat your calories. Looking for things that you make at home that don't have preservatives in them, or you know, if you have access to good organic food, obviously that's a good choice most of the time for the majority of fruits and vegetables and animal products. But look for whole foods. You know, if you try to stay with whole foods and real food, and eat home a little bit more versus eating out, you know more what's in your food. And I think one of the biggest factors of eating out is that you can't always control the types of fats and oils that they use in cooking. And that's where there's kind of, from a diet quality point of view, I think there's a big issue, because using hydrogenated oils, or oils that are not healthy oils, that have a lot of omega-6 in it, versus like an olive oil or a sesame oil or a nut seed oil, which are much healthier, avocado oil, avocados, these types of unsaturated oils, you know. So when you eat out, you can't, especially fried foods or anything like that, you really don't know what kind of oils you're eating, which I think can be a big negative influence on your diet quality. So keep it simple. Eat eat stuff in season, eat stuff that you like, but, you know, try not to eat out of the package. Once I heard this podcast, it was hysterical. It said, never buy your food at gas stations, and don't eat out of the package, you know, and you'll probably be doing all right. But
yeah, I'm going to add a few things which are more about habits than the actual what goes in your mouth. So pick your size of plate. A big plate, food can look empty if you have less of it. Chew it. Take your time eating. I particularly have a bad habit of enjoying cheese and biscuits, which I like, or cheese and crackers, as Americans call it. So go into the kitchen, make up the cheese and crackers, put them on a plate, and then take them to the table to eat. Don't have the packet of crackers and the pack of cheese in front of you and just carving little bits off it.
And make it look nice too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I also quite like letting someone else serve me. So you take the decision making as to your portion size, your portion control, out of your own hands. So it takes the temptation to be greedy away from you. Make sure, obviously, who's serving you knows what you're heading towards. But a couple of nights a week, I just sit and wait, and my dinner is brought to me, which is very, very nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It's nice to be taken care of when you're always taking care of other people. And it's interesting how small things can make a big difference. And just changing your weight 2 kilos is quite a big change. You're already going to substantially feel different. So, you know, take those wins, you know, take those little 0.10 of a pound or a kilo, and, you know, it all counts.
Certainly does. I've also been using an app called MyFitnessPal, which records your exercise. It tries to estimate how much energy you've burned based on the exercise that you do. Note you burn no energy doing strength training, only cardio. And then,
right.
It also then has a very extensive pick list of things. So if you list one medium avocado, or you can say I didn't eat one, and you can change it to being 50% or half of an avocado, or a third. So it's got all the fractions in there. And some of them are somewhat variable because some of them are brand names that I don't recognize. But the discipline of having to write down everything that goes in your mouth is exactly that, a discipline. And although I don't particularly enjoy doing it, my mental process, my thought is, if I can control what I eat, then I don't need to do this. But until I can control what I eat, then I do need to do this.
Mm-hmm. I use that too, actually. And I've gone on and off of it, but I have been on it recently. And it is easy. And you can add in, if there's something you regularly have, you can add that food in with the content. Because I think as older athletes too, one of the reasons I went back to it is to monitor my protein intake, because you really need a higher, you need a good amount of protein intake as an older woman or man to to help that muscle mass. You need the resistance training to stimulate the protein synthesis in your muscles, but you need the protein for the repair. So, you have to aim for a high amount of protein, and if you don't, it's easy to get enough if you pay attention to it. And that's where you make these little choices. Oh, am I going to have this, or I'm going to have this? Well, you know what? Maybe instead of the ice cream, pick the Greek yogurt, and you're going to boost your protein up 18 grams, right? If you want something that texture, right, go for something like that. But monitoring the macros, I think, is a really, and then you can use that in the free version of it. And that's definitely for us masters athletes, something I think that's really, really important, because many people do not eat enough protein. And, if they're way, way too out of balance with the carbs, they need that protein for lean mass, right? So.
Definitely. Now, from our live watchers, Rich says he purchased a copy of The World's Healthiest Foods by George Matalijan, and it's been a very helpful resource in changing my diet for the better. So
I have to check that out. Yes.
I will write this down.
Yes, that sounds like a good book. Weight training burns heaps of calories, and lean mass is metabolically active. It burns calories even at rest. So more lean mass is a great idea. Absolutely. And actually, the Science of Rowing guys 2 months ago talked about a study that compared lean mass in rowers relative to their 2K score, and and there was a definite correlation that more lean mass, more active tissue, fares better on the rowing machine for sure. But yes, you might weigh, and that's why you can't always go by your weight, because your weight, if you drank a lot of water, you're going to weigh more, right? If you happen to eat too much salt, you're going to hold fluids. So, but it's still like, I think some people say don't check your weight every morning. I think it's perfectly fine to do that if you like doing that. And it helps say, oh, well, maybe I, did a little bit, or I ate a little bit too late in the day. All those things come into a factor. But, over time, definitely looking at those macros and making good choice. And if you're seeing like, oh my God, I'm constantly running low on my protein, think about those snacks, maybe you want the almonds instead of the pretzels, right? Or you need more calcium. That's another big one for women, but masters men too. It's the calcium intake. So almonds are super high in calcium, and your broccoli, besides dairy foods, but that's very, very important for your bones.
I certainly did a little bit of a sort of backtrack and looked at my diary records over past years. So I've got like 5 or 6 years of data, and my post-Christmas weight this year is actually very similar to what it's been in previous years. The big challenge is that you kind of get on the scales and you go, oh my God, that looks so awful. And it's such a nice holiday. And actually, I have a clear pattern of behavior, which I'm still actually quite consistent with, which in a way is encouraging. Like, you're not off the scales. Terrible. Right. You've clawed back from this before. So I find that actually having a history has been really useful for me.
Sure. It's okay to enjoy yourself, and maybe to some degree it's even good to give your body that rest for a while, let it plump up a little bit, relax. It's a resting period, and then you bring it back down, but you know how to do that. That's the important thing, is you're aware of it. It's not something that's skyrocketing out of control. And I think baby steps, little decisions, or eliminate decisions, like decide this week, this is what I'm having for breakfast. Like, I'm gonna eat cranberries every day for breakfast, or blueberries, or this or that. So you don't have this decision fatigue of, oh my God, what am I going to eat? This, plan your week.
Yeah.
And, no, this week, this is what I'm going to have for breakfast. Maybe next week you have something else for breakfast, or, things that make it easy for you to stay on track with foods you like and foods that are good for you.
Which is excellent. Let's track back to naming your erg in your boat, because we've had some great suggestions here. Sarah says her vacuum was originally named Hoover because, of course, that is the brand in the UK, but she's getting up in years, so we now call her Lady Hoover.
Oh, great.
And Jeanette hasn't thought to name her ergs. Oh, she has ergs plural.
She does. Yeah, she has a collection.
She says her boat is called Equanimity, evenness of mind, especially under stress, mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, especially in a difficult situation. I think of her name at race starts and hard workout sessions.
That's that's it. Maybe you could use this advice for your single. Like, what if you were going to talk to your boat as you're getting ready for a race, what would you want it to say?
There is a woman who I used to know quite well, whose Twitter handle is Rage Girl. And actually, at the start of some races, I would really like to be Rage Girl, which isn't so good for a crew boat, but for my single, hell, I can row it any way I like. And it isn't always successful, I will say.
Well, it depends what you need. Like some people need to something that calms them down because they're too revved up, and some people are too calm and they need to rev up, right? Like I would probably need a calming. I would be like Jeanette, like I need a calming name, because you know that feeling when you're out in the warm up. Some people probably, and you're just like sick to your stomach, and you're thinking, why am I doing this? Like, why am I doing this? This is crazy. Why am I doing this? No,
I think that's in the second quarter of the race. That's the why am I doing this moment?
If anybody wants to feel comforted, they should read Steve Redgrave's commentary about his race before Atlanta, the race in the pair before Atlanta. And he writes about how he is so incredibly nervous and anxious and sick. He practically like can't bear being alive for this like 12 hours before the race. So if you think you had it bad, like read this, and after this you'll be like, and then he's like, as soon as they say go, I'm fine. But I mean, he talks about, it's just painstaking. It's painstaking to read it in his book. It's just like, oh my Lord, but talk about stress, man. It's just,
and of course, in a way, that sort of stress is stress that you have put yourself under. Yes, of course, it's a big event. It's a big event you've trained for a long time. There's an awful lot hanging on it. And he was right in so many ways, because the entire British Olympic team, the entire team, every sport, only won one gold medal at Atlanta. That was his.
But that book, Steve Redgrave's book, The Complete Book of Rowing by Steve Redgrave, I think it's in this book he writes about this. But I mean, it's just like, oh my Lord, you're biting your nails. I'm serious. So I love reading books by Matt Pinson and Steve Redgrave and those guys.
They are awesome. We have some more people sharing their diet plans.
Deep Cell Recovery. Is that a name of a real plan, or it's your name, Cece, for the plan?
Or the name of your boat. Actually, it could do both.
Yes. Cell Tech.
And Sarah says her nutritionist gives her daily goals for calories, protein, and carbs, and then she reviews her Fitness Pal app. Oh, it's interesting. You use the same app as well. That's so cool. We had a moment in a crew boat as I was rowing in a while back, and we were turning the boat around, and someone made a remark about, I need to lose a bit of weight. And I said, I use an app. And the other three people all just fell about laughing. And I was like, well, what's so funny? And they said, because that's always your answer. Technology is your answer.
Technology is your answer. Well, so
I am happy with it.
Yeah. Well, I like that visual too, though. I mean, I do, and it's free. It's free and it's super easy. It's super easy to use. And like you said, it just makes you check in with yourself. It creates awareness. Nobody's going to say, hey, that's bad that you did that. But, it keeps you on track. It's the 80-20 rule. If you're on track 80% of the time, you're gonna get there, wherever it is you want to go.
Precisely. Guys, it's been a fantastic Faster Masters Rowing Radio today. I have had such a blast. I get a huge sort of energy kick out of doing this show, and you guys who join us live, you really add to it. So I'd just like to personally thank you all.
Yes. And think of some next week. If you think of your erg names, you have time, you can share them with us. We'll be here at the same time next week.
As ever. So this has been Faster Masters Rowing Radio, where having a rowing coach only makes you better. Following a program gives you a true pathway to becoming a confident sculler who's respected by your peers. Become the athlete you want to row with. Faster Masters Rowing Radio. We're part of the Rowing Chat Network. You can find all the shows on the network at www.rowing.chat. And also, please subscribe in your favorite podcast app. And you can help us by telling your friends or leaving a review. We very, very much enjoy having comments and feedback. Till next time. Bye-bye.